Welcome to Tarbo Eminent Channel, the hidden history of the Royal Mail. The Royal Mail, one of the oldest postal services in the world, has a long and fascinating history filled with secrecy, innovation, and royal influence. Though today it's known primarily as the United Kingdom's National Postal Service, its origins and development reveal a far more intriguing story. Origins in royal privilege. 1516. The Royal Mail was officially established in 1516 by King Henry VIII, who appointed Brian Tuke as the first master of the posts. At that time, the postal system was created solely for royal and government use, to carry messages securely between the King's Court and regional authorities. Opening to the public, 1635. Under King Charles I, the Royal Mail was opened to the public in 1635, both as a revenue-generating service and to improve communication across the kingdom. However, all letters could still be intercepted and read by the state, particularly during times of political unrest, a fact largely hidden from ordinary citizens. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. Secret offices and letter tampering. In the 18th and early 19th centuries, the Royal Mail ran a secret office, known as the Black Chamber or Secret Office, where selected letters were opened and copied before being resealed and sent on. This covert intelligence operation allowed the government to monitor dissent and foreign espionage. Perhaps most famously, during the Napoleonic Wars, the Black Chamber helped decrypt French letters and provided crucial intelligence. Even prominent revolutionaries like Jean-Paul Marat were monitored while in Britain. Mail robberies and the creation of the mail coach. In the late 1700s, highwaymen frequently targeted post riders and mail carriers on the isolated roads between cities. The situation became so dangerous that the Royal Mail commissioned the use of armed mail coaches starting in 1784, outfitted with guards and locked compartments. These fast coaches were prioritized even over royal carriages on the roads. One notorious mail robbery in 1816 led to a national scandal, as it involved an inside job by a postal employee who had been leaking information to criminals for months. The event prompted widespread reforms in security, including the standardization of mailbag seals. The GPO film unit and wartime propaganda. In the 1930s, the Royal Mail established the GPO film unit, which at first created documentaries about the importance of mail and communication. But when World War II broke out, the unit shifted to producing propaganda films and morale-boosting shorts. One of their most famous productions was Night Mail, 1936, a poetic portrayal of the overnight postal train to Scotland, featuring narration by W.H. Auden and music by Benjamin Britten. What many didn't know was that the film's release was also part of a subtle campaign to highlight national unity and the strategic power of communication during uncertain times. The Underground Railway beneath London. Beneath the bustling streets of London lies a forgotten underground train system, not for people, but for mail. Known as the Mail Rail, it operated from 1927 to 2003 and ran 6 miles between Paddington and Whitechapel. Hidden from the public eye, it whisked letters and parcels beneath the city at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour, unaffected by surface traffic or weather. During the Blitz in World War II, this secretive railway ensured uninterrupted communication, even as bombs fell overhead. For decades, few Londoners even knew it existed. It was only open to the public as a museum in 2017. The Post Office espionage network. During World War I, the British government turned the Royal Mail into a covert arm of military intelligence. Letters and telegrams from suspected enemy agents, sympathizers, and even ordinary citizens with foreign connections were intercepted and scrutinized. Specially selected postal workers were trained to decipher German code, translate intercepted correspondence, and track suspicious patterns in mail routing. This secret surveillance led to the exposure of several German spy rings operating in London and other cities. The work was so sensitive that many employees involved were sworn to secrecy for life, and some of their operations weren't declassified until well into the 20th century. The mail carrier who became a folk hero in the 19th century, James Chalmers, a Scottish printer and Royal Mail contractor, passionately campaigned for a more affordable and efficient postal system. Though not officially credited in history, Chalmers is believed by many to have first proposed the idea of adhesive postage stamps, which later became the penny black. His relentless lobbying and experimentation with stamp design and prepaid envelopes made him a kind of unsung hero of the Victorian communications revolution. Chalmers died in 1853, largely unrecognized, but historians now acknowledge that his influence on modern postal systems was profound, even if overshadowed by Rowland Hill. The Great Train Robbery and the Royal Mail Heist. One of the most infamous chapters in Royal Mail history is the Great Train Robbery of 1963. A gang of robbers led by Bruce Reynolds intercepted a Royal Mail train en route from Glasgow to London, making off with £2.6 million, about £50 million today. The robbers had detailed knowledge of the train's route and schedule, suggesting they had an inside source within the postal or rail service. Though most of the gang were caught, much of the money was never recovered. The Royal Mail was forced to completely overhaul its security protocols and transport procedures, marking the end of an era of relatively lax mail train operations. The Ghost Letter of 1887. One of the strangest tales in Royal Mail lore involves a letter postmarked in 1887 that mysteriously arrived at its destination in 1994, more than a century late. The envelope, addressed to a house in Bath, was in perfect condition and had clearly never been opened. Historians speculated it had fallen behind a sorting machine or been trapped in a mailbag that was long forgotten in an old depot. But the contents were even more curious, a personal letter from a young man proposing marriage. The woman it was addressed to had died decades earlier, unmarried. The story captivated the public and was widely reported in British newspapers as the Ghost Letter, a reminder that mail can carry emotion across generations, even unintentionally. The Royal Mail's role in founding the BBC. Few people know that the Royal Mail was instrumental in the creation of the British Broadcasting Corporation. In the early 1920s, the Post Office, which managed both mail and telephone systems, granted licenses to radio broadcasters and directly oversaw the British Broadcasting Company, the BBC's predecessor. It used its infrastructure and engineering staff to help lay the groundwork for radio transmission networks across the country. The transition of this service into the independent BBC we know today happened only after debates over media freedom, but the fact remains, the early airwaves of Britain were first managed under the auspices of the Royal Mail.